There's a saying you must have heard in your childhood: what you see around you isn't always what it is, and what you don't see is often right there. This saying is very relevant to today's story. You need to listen very carefully to this story. It's not just scary, but also very mysterious. The person who experienced these events never truly understood the mystery. He couldn't solve it, but I know the whole story, and I'm going to tell you now. If you listen to it till the end, maybe you can solve this mystery. But if you don't watch till the end, you might miss out on many important details of this story. So watch till the end. This story I'm going to tell you is from a corner of our country that is called Heaven. You guessed it right, this story is about Kashmir. Everyone in our country has heard or thought at least once, why such hellish activities happen in a place called Heaven? Why is there so much violence and bloodshed? You must have heard those stories, but the story of Kashmir I'm going to tell you today is beyond scary. It's the scariest and most terrifying. It's about a person who came to Kashmir after many years. This person's name is Yusuf. Many incidents happened with this person, not just once but many times. And you'll feel scared too, not once but many times. Before we start this video, subscribe to this channel to watch more such horror, mysterious and historical videos. Now, the story begins. This story is from the year 2010 when Yusuf, a 40-year-old man, was coming to India from New York to meet his parents. He was going to meet his parents after many years, so he was very excited. Because many years ago, Yusuf had moved out of India because his parents' financial condition was very bad. So he was forced to move out of India and he went to New York to complete his studies. He tried to come to India every time but couldn't. He didn't have many conversations with his parents over the phone either. But once he received a call saying that his father was very ill. Then Yusuf thought that he shouldn't waste any more time. Anything could happen. So without wasting time, he booked a ticket to India. He reached India, New Delhi airport, and from there, without wasting time, he booked another cab that was going to Kashmir. Finally, Yusuf reached Kashmir. He saw that Kashmir had changed a lot in the last 20 years because he had gone to America 20 years ago, and many things had changed in 20 years. He was thinking about the same things. Is it still the same place that I left 20 years ago? Will I meet my friends at the same place where we used to hang out? Because he had told all his friends that he was coming to Kashmir. He had very little time. He had only come for a few days to Kashmir. He had to go back, but he had to meet a lot of people. Now Yusuf's car finally turned towards Yusuf's house. And Yusuf was looking at all these things while going, that his neighborhood, which he had left 20 years ago, is still the same. All the shops are the same, all the houses are the same. He saw that the shop from where he used to buy biscuits and chocolates in his childhood is still the same. And today, the son of that shopkeeper was running that shop. He was very happy to see all this. Now his excitement increased even more because now his car had finally stopped in front of his house. He went to his house, he knocked, but no one opened the door. He knocked again, but no one opened the door. Then a big crowd started gathering around Yusuf's house because Yusuf was the boy who had left 20 years ago, had left India because of a fight with his parents and had gone to America. People were staring at him. Yusuf was feeling very uncomfortable. He said, "What is this, man? There's no one at home. I think I'll come back in the evening." And he turned back to leave his house. As soon as he turned, the door opened on its own. He thought maybe there was a draft, that's why it opened on its own. Okay, he took all his bags and went inside the house. As soon as he went inside and put down his luggage, he called out to his mother. He called out 2 or 3 times, but this time a voice came from the other side, from Yusuf's side, and it was his mother's voice. The voice was coming from the first floor. Yusuf ran upstairs to the first floor and saw that his mother was sitting next to his father, and both of them were in a very bad condition. Both were very ill, but despite being so ill, Yusuf's mother hugged him. Seeing the condition of both of them, Yusuf was also very emotional. He was feeling regret but was also happy that he could finally stay with his parents, even if it was for a short time. But Yusuf didn't know that his first night at that house would be very scary. It was his first night in that house, and he went downstairs to fill water. At that time, he heard a sound from the right side towards the window. There was no wind, but there was a sound. It was echoing from one window to another. Then he tried to look carefully. He saw fingerprints on the window. He could see it clearly. And when he looked a little more carefully, he saw that there were fingerprints on all the windows, as if someone, a person, was standing outside in the dark of the night and trying to look inside. Seeing all this, Yusuf was very scared. The water bottle fell from his hand, and Yusuf ran upstairs to his parents. As soon as the next morning came, Yusuf came out of his room and went to his parents' room and told his mother everything. Mom, last night when I was filling water, I saw that there were fingerprints on our window. And it felt like someone was peeping into our house in the dark of the night. I was so scared. Then Yusuf's mother casually mentioned that there was a man living in our neighborhood whose wife had passed away. After his wife's death, he had been mentally unstable and wandered around day and night. Hearing this, Yusuf felt a bit relieved. He thought it wasn't something supernatural, it was just a person. In fact, the next night he tried to find that man. And on the same day, Yusuf received a party invitation from one of his friends. Since Yusuf had come to Kashmir after so many years, he hadn't had any chance to meet his friends. So finally he thought that he would go to this party and meet all his friends. And this party invitation was for later in the evening. When Yusuf told his parents about it, his father warned him to be home by 12 a.m. no matter what. Yusuf agreed but was a bit annoyed by his father's warnings. Yusuf went to the party and enjoyed himself with his friends. But the party was still going on, and it was already 12 a.m. Yusuf felt he should leave, but he didn't want to be the first one to go. Then one of his friends, Danish, came to him and suggested he should leave because of a haunted bridge he would have to cross on his way back. Yusuf didn't believe in such stories initially, but as Danish narrated the tale of the Gokadal Bridge and the tragic incident that occurred there in 1990, Yusuf started feeling a bit uneasy. He decided to ignore the story and continued enjoying the party. Because there was nobody else at the party at that time, he left. The whole way back, Yusuf kept thinking about what his friend Danish had said about the possibility of something happening on the Gokadal Bridge. As he approached the bridge, he noticed a little girl standing at the corner, crying. Yusuf was surprised to see a child alone at such a late hour, especially at a place like that bridge. He wondered if it was a ghost, but being the rational person he was, he decided to help her. He stopped his car and approached the girl. When he got closer, he realized she was pointing towards a nearby lake. They went to the lake, and to his horror, he saw 2 dead bodies floating in it. Yusuf was shocked and was about to jump into the lake to save them when the girl held his hand and said that he could save these 2, but what about the others? Then Yusuf asked, "What do you mean?" and the girl pointed towards the lake. When Yusuf looked at the lake, he saw that there were not just 2 dead bodies, but at least 40 to 50 floating dead bodies. Yusuf was shocked. He now understood that this was all real. He ran back to his car as fast as he could and sped away. But as he drove, he noticed that the entire road was covered in blood. When he reached his house, he started banging on the door frantically, but no one answered. He kept knocking louder and louder, but still, no one opened the door. It was so cold in Kashmir, and there he was, alone in the dark night, standing outside his door, shivering. Then he saw someone walking towards him from a distance. The person walked towards his house and started peering through the windows. Yusuf realized that this was the same person who had been peeking into their windows every night. He approached the person aggressively and asked, "What are you doing?" "I have been seeing you here for days, peeking into our windows. What are you doing here?" "Are you crazy?" The man looked at him intently and said, "Who are you talking about?" "Whose house is this?" Yusuf replied. "This is my parents' house." "You can't just peep into people's houses like this," the man said. For many days, we've seen you coming here, knocking on the door, talking to yourself in the dark, even though there's no one inside. That's why the neighbors asked me to keep an eye on you. Hearing this, Yusuf was speechless. The man continued, 20 years ago, your parents were part of a protest. Many people died that day. Their spirits still roam around this place, especially near the Crocodile Bridge. They cry, they scream, they ask for help. And anyone who hears their calls experiences terrible things. Yusuf was trying to connect the dots. He felt like the man was lying, but everything he said seemed to fit the pieces together. He realized that the people he was talking to were not his living parents, but their spirits. Yusuf wanted to forget all this as if it were a bad dream, but he couldn't bear the pain of losing his parents. So he went back to New York. Guys, it's still said today that the Crocodile Bridge in Kashmir is as scary as ever. This story is from 2010, but even today in 2024, that bridge is just as terrifying. No one wanders there at midnight. There's a saying that if someone dies and has an unfulfilled wish, they never leave that place. So if you ever find yourself in a place where you know someone died and left something unfinished, get out as soon as you can, even if it's your own home. Otherwise, they might try to fulfill their unfulfilled wish through you.